In the last video, we got Git installed, and it's a one-time install. So once it's there, it should be good to go. I'm going to teach you using Git from the command line. There are lots of GUIs that are out there that you can use, including one that's provided by GitHub itself called GitHub Desktop or something like that. But even with all of the GUIs, I think it's important to learn how to do it from the basic core command line. So that way, if for some reason the GUI doesn't work, you have a resource to fall back to kind of get down to the bare bones and do it without being handcuffed by a GUI. So anyway, let's just jump in. So in the command prompt, you should be at your root directory of your user's name. So I am at cusers kirtan. And what I'm going to do then is I want to navigate to, I'm going to put this project, my first project, on the desktop. And so I'm going to cd space, which means change directory, and de, if I hit tab, it'll finish it off for me and match the pattern desktop. And I do want to navigate into the desktop. And so now I'm in the desktop folder. I'm going to make a new folder. So to do that, we use the command mkdir, which says make a directory. At the command level, we refer to folders as directories. So mkdir, in the GUI world, it's a folder, but here in the command line, it is a directory. So mkdir, and I'm going to make a directory name. I'll call this particular folder example or directory. I just split them up there. Anyway, so now that I have a example folder, I'm going to cd change directory into that folder, cd example, and I should be in that folder. And so if I look at my path now, I am definitely in that folder. If I do a dir, that's a command for directory listing. So if I look in this folder, I'm finding exactly what I expect, and that is nothing at this point. ... simply refers to the current directory, and ... refers to the directory above, which would be in this case desktop. But the bottom line is there's not any more files or folders in this directory, which is what I expect. So we're going to start making our first repo or repository. And when we use the word repository, let me just write it here so you know what word I'm saying. A repository is simply another word for a project. And so this is where we would keep this project file. So all of our project files, for example, would be in here, for example. No pun intended there. Anyway, so I'm going to initialize a Git repository, which means I'm going to write the word Git, because that's the command using the Git software. Init means initialize, and I'm going to hit enter. And it's letting me know that I've initialized an empty Git repository in this folder, in the example. So I'm creating what's called a repo or a project called example. And so in this project, in this repository, I would probably find maybe a website that I created for Bass Pro. Yeah, okay, you get the idea. So it is simply a project. It's not a combination of projects, so you wouldn't put week 1, week 2, week 3. It is a singular project, which is what a repo is, a singular project. Okay, so initialize empty Git repository. All right, so something happened. I'm going to do a dir again and see if anything cool happened in my folder or in my directory. Doesn't look like anything cool happened. I don't understand. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in git /a, and let's see if anything else interesting happens. So apparently I used the wrong command, which I did. It should be dir /a. I'm not using a git command. I'm using a command prompt command for directory or directory listing. And /a, which is what I really should have done, is going to give us this .git directory now. And so what's happening is, let me pull up a folder. So I'm unprepared. Let me pull up. I called this example. So if I go into my file explorer, my folder explorer, whatever they call it. Anyway, so I'm in the example folder. So I've navigated to the same place that I was in my command prompt. And I have Git in here. So if you go to view and you click on this hidden items on or off, it turns out that this Git folder is a hidden folder. And so what's happening is when you did an initialize git init, Git automatically will create this file in this directory. And if you double click on it, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff that Git has installed. And I don't need to go in it. I don't ever have to mess with it. I'm just showing you that it's there because that's what Git init does. It simply says, all right, Git, I want you to pay attention to me as a repository, and you're going to start paying attention to all of my version control and all of the things that we talked about in the first video. If for some reason you no longer want this project under Git's watchful eye, you don't want it to be incorporated in source control, you can just delete this file. So if I deleted it, now it's no longer here. I've just now eliminated the fact that this is now a Git repository and it's just a normal folder now. But I do want it because that's the whole point of this video. So now I should have that Git folder in there, and that's what the /A is saying. Please show me hidden files. And again, it's not Git. You'd think should learn. No, I don't. Okay, so let's do the command prompt dir /A, and now we should see that Git folder. So now this particular directory, example directory, is under Git's watchful eye, and it's now paying attention to all of our what we'll call commits or file save as we used in the original example, and our version control, and let's just see more things happen. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and create an index page and another file, which I will explain shortly. So I'm going to type in code and the period, which should bring up Visual Studio Code in another monitor. So I'll bring it over. Okay. So it brought up Visual Studio Code in the example folder. I'm going to create an index.html just for some visuals, HTML, :5. So I've got an HTML page, giddiness, and then each one, I'm giddy, maybe giddy over git. Okay. All right. So that should be kind of normal. No big deal there. You start to notice that Visual Studio Code is paying attention to the fact that this is now under version control. You can see that there is a U here, so it's the highlight says it's untracked. Don't know what that is, but you're going to explain it to me shortly. I certainly am. Now you see this little gear icon or whatever that's called is also paying attention, so that has to do with source control. Source control 1 pending changes. So yes, that makes sense because we just made a new file. I'm going to ask you to create another file, and right now I'm just going to kind of say take it at face value, and I will show you what meaning it has shortly. It's called a readme.md. So your extension is .md, and the convention is caps. And in this readme file, I'm going to do a hashtag space and then a title like my Git project. I'm going to hit an enter, and I'm going to do 2 hashtags, a space, and my name. And again, at this point in time, I'm just going to say, just sort of take this at face value, and I will show you the meaning of this or why it's beneficial soon enough. All right. Let me pull this off screen now, and I'm going to go back into my command prompt, and I'm going to type the word git again, now a git command, and I'm going to use the word status because I'm kind of curious as to what's going on here. We saw it sort of highlighted in Visual Studio Code. And again, that's a GUI interface for doing the same thing, but I still feel it's important to get back to the basics so you know how to do it. So it says, let's see, on branch master. So the branch master is the main branch, and we saw that in the original video, the first video, and that branch is called the master branch. That makes sense. So we're on the master branch. That branch is called master. No commits yet. Now commits is a fancy word for that file save as that we talked about in the original video. So we're going to get back to that. It'll have meaning very soon. Untracked files. That was the U we saw in Visual Studio Code. And so what's happening here is Git noticed. Git was watching, right? Because we have that .git folder in this project file. And Git says, you've made there's some new files that I've noticed you've done something, you've made some new files, but you haven't done anything with Git with those new files yet. I haven't done anything with them, they're untracked. So hopefully that'll have more meaning as we move along here. Nothing added to commit, but there are untracked files present. Use git add to track. So what that is saying, and it's kind of unclear until you understand what's happening. What Git expects us to do is, or enables us to do is, before we do that file save as, we can organize any number of our files into like a staging area, and they call it staging, and that's a medium ground place where you it's kind of like organizing a photograph of people. You put them all into one place in front of the beautiful fountain and you organize them, and then you decide that you really don't want Aunt Fifi in there because she didn't do her hair that day, so you remove her from in front of the video, or in front of the fountain. So the point is that we're organizing our family in that case, or we're organizing our files into a staging area. So once we put them all in place, then we can save that moment in time. And so it's that organization of all those files that's called staging. And so right now, we haven't put any of our family members in front of that fountain. And so the analogy here is these are our family members that we want to organize in front of that fountain so we can take their picture. And so the way that we do that is we use the command git, and we use the word add. And then you could put particular file names, like I just want to put the README file in that temporary area or that staging area, or I just want the index file, or whatever it is. In our case, I want everything in there. I want the whole family in front of that fountain. I want all of my files to be staged. So I'm going to do git add asterisk to include everybody. And so now all I've done is put them in front of the fountain and say, all right, now you guys this is the picture that I want. This is the snapshot I want to take. This is the file save as I want to do with this essay. And so now if I do git status, again, let's see what's changed, if anything. All right, so now I'm still on the master branch, okay. I haven't made any commits yet. I haven't taken that photograph. I haven't done file save as, all of those kind of the same idea. And then it's letting me know that I've got two files ready to go. If I decide that I want to take one of these, I want to put Aunt Fifi away, she doesn't want to be in the picture, then we can use this git remove command. But that's not really what I want to do. I'm going to include everybody. So I'm ready to do a file save as. I'm ready to commit this version of my code. And so now we're going to use the word commit instead of file save as and all that other silliness I've been using. So we're going to commit this version of our software. And to do that, we're going to again use the git command, and then we're going to type in commit. And now the only difference is that we haven't done yet is we have to flag it with this -m, which says I'm about to give you a message. And in this message, I'm going to do initial commit. So the idea here is that every time we do a commit, think of it as a Polaroid picture. So we take a picture of our family with a Polaroid camera, and we've got this beautiful moment in time. And in Polaroids, at the bottom of that Polaroid, there's usually a white strip. And on that white strip, we could write something like Fountain of Trevi in Italy and the date or something like that. So it's a way to document what happened in that snapshot. So this is the same thing. And you can imagine if we have a project that's got like 25 commits, for every snapshot we take, it's nice to have a little message to tell us what changed between our snapshots. And so we have to add a message to our commits. And so after that happens, we have this says master initial commit made, 2 files changed, 13 insertions. So it saw 13 changes, if you will, and added that file. And now we should, if we do a git status, we should get branch master, nothing to commit, working tree clean, because as far as Git's concerned, it's been watching and it doesn't see any changes to our files. Everything has been taken care of. So let's bring our code back, and just out of curiosity, let's add a second file. So I'm going to add a style sheet, styles.css, And I'll do something like body background color green. Doesn't really matter because this is an HTML class. This is Git. So then I'm going to also go onto my index page and link that. Styles.css. Okay, so now I have a new file, and you can see that Visual Studio Code understands that this project is under source control, so it's trying to let me know that you have an untracked file, something that needs to be added to our new snapshot, and a modified file. So again, here's the GUI interface, but we're going to go back to the command line. And so now I'm going to do a get status out of curiosity. And sure enough, same idea, right? So we have a modified file, and we also have an untracked file. So at this point in time, I'm ready to do another commit, another snapshot, another version control of this particular project. And so I'm going to do a git add, just like we did the last time. Git add and asterisk. Nothing wild seemed to happen. I didn't get any errors. I guess that's good. So if I do a git status, let's just see what happens. Yes, changes to be committed. So we did that intermediate step, and now my cat hit the keyboard, and now we are going to commit. So we're going to do the same thing. Git commit. Remember, you have to add your message, and then maybe this time I added a style sheet. So our little message of what we did that changed from the last time, and hit enter. Nice. All right, so now my git status should be clean. We're good. All right, so the last command I'm going to do on this video is I'm going to do a git log. And what you should see in this git log is our 2 commits. So you can see that Git is keeping a watchful eye over what we've been doing, and it's giving me a little history here. And it's letting me know that there's the first commit, there's our message, so I can see that that's where that's coming into play. The name that you've provided to Git is going to be in, that reminds me of something I forgot to tell you, so I'm going to get there in a minute. Oh, I forgot. Hopefully you didn't have this error. So anyway, so we have the author is the name that you didn't put in that I forgot to tell you about, so I will tell you about that in a minute. And maybe I'll make a video ahead of time, so I'll do that. Anyway, so you have your author, so that way there's how you can track who made that change. So if you have a team, then this is going to identify the person that made this particular commit. And then the date. We have a unique number. This number is unique to this commit. So if we need to refer to this commit to reset or to go back to an older version, this is how we would identify that version. And then here we are on this is the head of the branch. This is the most current version. So in a nutshell then, that is, we have initialized a project, and as far as Git's concerned, we can continue on in our local directory with our Git project. But on the next video, we're going to take it to the next level and include GitHub in our Git project flow.